Welcome to Shed Life. I've got an episode. Daniel Hopper is on board today. Me and Dan have known each other, 7 or 8 years, ever since the first LinkedIn local that he put on. I came along to that and it's been awesome. He's run these huge events. It's been really cool. Interesting backstory, interesting marketing, lots of music chat. So, Dan, thank you. Welcome.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the offer.
No worries. I thought it was, we were just saying it before, so we may as well get into it. Did you study with, or how did you know Dave, the doctor of Bogans? It was a big news story maybe 10 years ago. Someone did their doctorate in Bogan studies.
Yeah, so Dave Snell, So I actually met him originally. I was on the student board, student union at Wintec.
Yeah.
But it sounds a bit nerdy. Student Association of Wintec, I think it was called, SAWT. So basically, students all paid a little bit of a levy or a small fee, like $70 or whatever, which went into the student union, which would then put on events and provide services on campus and advocacy and this and that. So this is going back to 2007 or so.
Okay, damn.
Quite a few years back. And so I was studying a business degree at Wintec and heard about this student union thing where you get paid a little bit of money to help do stuff on campus and sort of run student events for orientation week and this and that. So I was on that, and then Dave was actually on the Waikato University. Same sort of thing, student union. What was the one called? I should remember this, but I don't at the moment.
So he was a student at the same time. So you were at Wintec, he was at Waikato Uni?
Yeah, so he was a couple of years advanced. I think I was like a second year when I met him. And he was sort of just starting his PhD or halfway through it or something. So PhDs obviously take whatever it is, 3 to 5 years or something. So I was away at this conference where where all the student unions from around the country, different universities and Polytech all congregate and discuss student matters and all that bullshit. And have a few really good push-ups.
Yeah, I bet the party would be good.
Yeah, it was good times. So anyway, I met Dave, and he's a music guy and I was a bit of a music guy, so we found out he was doing a PhD in boganology and basically trying to define and understand what a bogan is. And I thought, that's kind of cool. And then I actually worked with him briefly at Wintec. I was in the Wintec Research Centre, I think it was called. So basically, government funded through research grants, small businesses and community organisations could put a proposal to get some funding for some research.
Yeah.
And we're both sort of junior researchers, I guess. This was maybe circa 2013. So a few years after, so this was obviously after his PhD, and I think I might have been studying part-time. So I guess he planted the seed for me. I did a thesis on rock concerts, which was pretty cool. Everyone... and I got a scholarship for it as well, and Dave was on a scholarship for his PhD, and my scholarship wasn't the same level because it was a thesis a master's thesis as opposed to a PhD thesis, so it's a little bit smaller.
Explain to me what a master's thesis is. I'm not as qualified as you.
Qualified and fuck all. So a thesis is basically like a dissertation. A thesis is a bigger version of a dissertation, which is basically a research study where you have a research question or a hypothesis, so if you have a research question, I want to know what is it about the rock concert experience, which is so awesome and keeps people like me coming back, spending lots of money, and the same bands come to New Zealand sort of periodically, often every 5 years or 10 years. Metallica will come to New Zealand or whoever it is, and each time I'm I have to go to this and take my money, like that classic meme.
Yeah.
So I was trying to understand what it was about that, because obviously you can go on YouTube these days or listen to a CD, watch a live DVD, and what is it about the experience where you're willing to spend so much money to go and actually experience that in person instead of just sitting at home and watching a screen or whatever it is? So that was kind of like my research question. What is it about the rock concert experience? And so that's basically you're starting to find something out. So with a hypothesis, it's more a sciencey thing. And marketing is more hairy-fairy, obviously, than like a science where you might have a scientific question that you're trying to, hypothesis that you're trying to prove. So you'll do a scientific study which tests whatever it is to try and find out, yes. Okay. So that's basically what a thesis is. You look at the previous research, you might do. So for my methodology, I looked at all the sort of studies on rock music and concerts, what people had previously said, and there wasn't really a lot, which is why I kind of thought, hey, so there's a sort of a gap in the research where you're trying to add to that research and fill this gap of knowledge. So I just happened to do research about rock concerts and got a scholarship, so I got to go to heaps of concerts. And so part of my research methodology was like participant observation is what you call it. So you're observing the experience, taking photos, looking at people, what's happening. You know, sort of take a few notes. I sort of just took a few voice notes on my phone, but obviously just having a good time mostly. And then you go back and you compare what you've found to what the previous research says, and then try and sort of use that to mould a sort of idea of, and that's kind of what I did.
And what did you find? Because it does make sense what you said is, you know, you could buy a CD. I'm old. You know, you could buy a CD, you could just listen on Spotify or something now, and theoretically the music quality is going to be better than, you know, a live performance. But what is it that, makes the live performance so enticing to humans? And Kiwis seem to just love my live performance.
Yeah. So I guess what we did kind of know was, you know, so there's a thing called hedonia or hedonic experience, which is an old Greek term for pleasure, basically pleasure.
Yeah.
And trying to improve your well-being or happiness through pleasure. So there's numerous ways of doing that. You know, some people might take drugs, some people might go to a race car track, some people might go clubbing, or whatever, to read a book. But basically it's that pleasure. So there's a pleasure side of the rock concerts when you go there and you're like, man, you just got a big smile on your face.
Yeah.
Everyone's around you's really happy. You're hugging random strangers in the mosh pit and like and I'm singing along to these songs you've always loved, and it's kind of there happening, which is sort of part of the second part. So there's obviously a really hedonic, strong kind of on experience, that feeling of pleasure, having an amazing time. But then there's something called eudaimonic well-being. So hedonia would sit here and eudaimonia sits here, whereas that's more pleasure through a sense of meaning. So if you think, there's a few, at school was quite like different paths and weaving sort of ideas, but basically it come down to people who are like really rock music orientated, people like Bogans, like Dave Snell, like Bogans, and just music people in general. Music is part of their identity. That's part of who they're like. I'm a Metallica fan. Or so I have to go to the concert because I'm a freaking Metallica fan. And so there's a few sort of layers to that, I guess. So it provides a sense of authenticity of, you can tell the story to like you or a random guy in the street with a Metallica shirt, or at a networking LinkedIn local, which we'll get to. So there's that authenticity, which is sort of a part of that meaning and a sense of belonging to a group of people. And so these days we're sort of very community focused and finding our little niche of friends and whatever it is, which makes part of who we are. I'm probably sounding really nerdy right now, but sort of authenticity was a big thing, and authenticity is harder to find these days. And these sort of
proving that you are actually a fan.
Yes, I'm a real fan. I experienced it. I had a good time. I was with my people, my community. So community is a big thing. So music people typically like Bogans, and you might have a small friend group who kind of like the same things as you, but you might like bands that they don't like. So you feel like a bit of an outsider because you're not in the mainstream of, everyone's listening to Taylor Swift or whatever it is these days. So when you're at the concert, that's like your people. Like you've got this community which you can't find anywhere else apart from at rock concerts. Everyone's best mates. You're singing along, or you're banging into dudes in the mosh pit and then like picking them up off the ground and just like, yeah. And so in that, it's an intense sort of moment of sort of self. And then you go back home and then you've got the memories and the stories that you sort of always remember.
Yeah.
And that sort of reinforces sort of your identity until the next one comes along, and then they sort of boosts you up again. And so it's a lot of that sort of, it's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, as I said, there's the eudaimonia, yes, it's an awesome time. So the hedonia, and then the eudaimonia, this had a real sense of meaning. I've got these awesome memories, which I'll always have, and that makes me feel happy. Yeah. So that's sort of the two sides of happiness, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's interesting from just a peak experience.
And there's a little bit of that peak and flow, and that flow state,
but yeah, definitely being as part of the group, and I think singing aloud, which is like, as Kiwis, we never sing normally, like outside of, church people might sing, but like everyday Kiwis, never. But you go to a concert and everyone's singing along, and that there's something incredibly powerful to the human psyche or something when everybody's singing
in unison.
In unison and going for it. It speaks to something deep in the human soul, I think, is that has certainly been lost or we don't do anymore. I mean, supposedly everybody used to always just hum or sing, and whether it's work gangs or, like just all the time. It was just
it's not very often you're in your workplace and someone spontaneously breaks out into song. And
no, that's it. But then even, I mean, I'm going back, you got people I might have met 10 years ago that might have been 70 or something, worked in the forestry gangs. Oh, yeah, we all used to, recite poetry, or, there was a lot more music going on that you just wouldn't get these days because everyone would just play it out of a speaker. Yeah. Anything that people would use like to monetize it or marketing it, or why maybe just Kiwis it seems so deeply into it. It's like we went to Metallica, it's like 55,000 people turned up for Metallica. 70,000 people out of 70% of them weren't from Auckland. Like people literally made a pilgrimage.
Yeah, from all
I think there's made a pilgrimage to Metallica. You can't say it any other way. I mean, I was next to dudes that were from the Hawke's Bay, and they definitely made a pilgrimage.
Yeah, it's that's a really cool thing about concerts too, is you meet some random person who feels like your best friend that you've never met. You have the best time of your life for like 2 hours, and then you walk your separate ways and go do your thing. I really was blown away by my first couple of concerts, which I went to when I was about 16, 17. Linkin Park, when they first hit the scene, was one of my first concerts.
Okay. Where was that?
It was at Auckland Town Hall, actually. Yeah. So there's only about 1,000 people, so everyone was really close. Yeah. That was before they really sort of blew up in the mainstream. And then I just went to, I think about 10 big day outs, 12 big day outs. Every year after that, I was at the big day out, back when that was a thing.
Yeah.
All these youngsters listening to this podcast these days were like, what the heck is the big day out?
Highlights from the big day out.
Yeah. I met this guy, Metallica, I think 2004. So I'd lost all my mates because this was before the days of social media, and when everyone had credit on your phone, you were paying like 20 cents a text.
Yeah.
And I was like 17, 18 years old, so I had no credit, obviously, and lost my mates, and sat down at the end of the day. I was just stuff from Big Day in the Sun, and sat down on the stands, and there's this random guy from, I can't remember where he was from now, but somewhere over in Europe, like Finland or something like that. And we sat down and we just sort of chilled out and had a chat. He was just happened to be in New Zealand at the time, and he'd never seen Metallica, so he came along to the big day out.
Yeah.
So we're both by ourselves, so just chilled out together, and then we just rocked out for 2 hours to Metallica, and it was awesome. Yeah. And that was the first time I saw them in 2004. So that's going back a few years now. I think I've seen them 4 times now. So every time that comes to New Zealand, as I say, he's like, man, I just have to go to this because it's going to be amazing. And, just there's nothing else to me which can really replace concerts and like how you feel and that sort of peak moment of just ecstasy, I guess, is the easiest way to sort of explain it. But it's really hard to explain to people who haven't been to a concert before, like how good it is.
Yeah, how powerful the moment is. Yeah, almost regardless of the concert, you can just get caught up into it. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I was at the Ed Sheeran concert. It was good. I'm a loose fan. I thought it would be actually quite different to what it was. Like, the few Ed Sheeran songs I sort of knew and what I thought, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be full of like 30-something party animals, like all drinking in bags and all this. Like, oh no, it's either way older with kids or like way more family orientated than I expected.
Yeah.
But just the crowd for his obvious encore, but 3 songs with like 40,000 people just going for it at the end, everyone up in the seats, everyone is just, there's a powerful human moment or spirit that there's nothing like it. The closest I've probably seen is supporting the Warriors if they're winning in a sports event, but it's a very different feeling.
It's just got that buzz going on.
And the buzz is, but I said, there's the thing with a concert is that your team's not going to lose. Like, we sort of like...
Yeah, and everyone's on the same team.
Everyone's on the same team. I think we were trying to explain it. If I went to Metallica with a few of my mates and we all go to the Warriors together, and people are like, oh, do you think it'll be a good concert? I'm like, of course, we know there's only one team and they're guaranteed to win. Like, it's going to be great. But yeah, from a sporting, you do get it, but I think there's always this level of tension. And then
until the tide kind of turns and
you know that you're either going to win, and then it's still like, okay, well, there's still next week though. So maybe if you won a grand final, never seen that with the Wasps, maybe Rugby World Cup, 2011 or something.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. But completely different. I don't know. I went Rugby World Cup 2011. I was downtown Auckland, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 people. There were so many people everywhere watching it on the screen. Generally, one of the most stressful days. Everyone in the country was so stressed out. You go and watch it. You think it was going to go all right. And then it was just like absolute torment for 20 minutes. You could see the cops backing away slowly, like, because I genuinely believe people would have rioted. Like people were so angry.
Beaver had missed that.
The few French people that were initially real supportive were like, man, I don't know if I want to be there. I think downtown Auckland would have been flipping cars. It would have just, Kiwis would have lost their minds. But so that is not the same, even though we won and everyone was it is not the same experience as a concert where they can just get you so, it just gets better as it goes along. And at the end, it often reaches this sort of like pinnacle.
Cuts into your soul.
Yeah.
I think the term was existential authenticity. So there's different types of authenticity. Sorry, just going back to some nerd shit.
Yeah.
So there's the authentic, like you buy a freaking designer bag and it could be a fake from China or it could be the authentic real one, and then you pay like 10 times more. So that's your sort of generic authentic, this is an authentic item. But then existential authenticity is going back to that eudaimonic sense of meaning. It's like that authenticity is like deep inside my soul, and like there was sort of a bit of the occasional time where you go to a concert and it's not quite as good. Like it didn't live up to all your hopes and dreams you sort of walk out and you're like, oh, that was good, but I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. But when you're in that peak feeling of just ecstasy and heightened emotions and stuff, it's that sense of authentic existence kind of, that it's like, man, this is everything I thought it would be. It's amazing. I love this guy who I've never met. Like everything is just, everything's just amazing and perfect. And like that feeling like is just Yeah, you just can't get it.
Yeah, no, it's peak state, that's for sure. And do you think for the concerts that didn't live up to it, was it generally on the artists not putting in the effort, or are you just surprised?
So as part of my methodology, so as I said, I went to a bunch of concerts, but then I also did in-depth interviews. So like a podcast, I sat down with someone, I recorded it for sort of an hour, 2 hours, and just sort of asked some questions, and then got them to tell a story about, like kind of what we're doing now. And then so that's and then you take away the transcript and you look through the transcript and look for key themes and stuff, and then you sort of create your sort of theory. And you've personally, from my experience, but also which was similar to the other people, sometimes it might have been the sound quality, which had nothing to do with the artist. It could have been the venue, the sound wasn't great, the lines to the toilet were really long, or to the bar, or $30 for a beer, and then they run out of beer, and, so it could have just been a little tiny thing which had absolutely nothing to do with the artist, which then just the experience wasn't quite what it could have been. But then, the band were just lazy and didn't play the hits. Yeah. So they might have been an awesome experience, but sometimes they didn't play the songs I like. Yeah. So then you walk down and you're like, man, I wish if they played this song and this song. And I've definitely had that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it's just the band wasn't quite what you hopes and dreams of, when you saw this band live for the first time, you thought, or even second or third time, sometimes that first time sets an expectations like up there. You're like, man, this is the best day. I'm going to go back and replicate that best day I've ever had. And then instead of like a 9.5 out of 10, it might have been like a 7. It just wasn't quite,
Yeah. And so how did Metallica then compare for you if you've seen them 4 times over a 20-year period?
It was pretty cool. Big Day Out was probably my favourite one because it was the first one. It was out Mount Smart with, 40-odd, 50-odd thousand other people. And Metallica's always been huge in New Zealand as long as I've been following them.
Yeah.
So, every time it's going to sell out and everyone's going to be loving it. Probably, but also being at Eden Park, like, I've only recently been a concert venue. It's always been like the home of the All Blacks, and like growing up in those classic games, watching them against the Aussies or the Springboks or whatever it was. Eden Park has like a special place in the heart of rugby fans. So to go to concerts there sort of adds a little bit more. Obviously it's a bigger venue as well.
I think it stacks up as a concert venue as well. I think I saw 660 there. That was good. And then I saw Metallica there. And I think it makes for a good concert venue. It's, being up high in the stands. So I was down in the mosh pit for 660. That was cool. It was huge. And then I was just up in the cheap seats right at the back for Metallica. But it was still... for a rugby game, you can't sit, you're like, what's going on down there? But you had a pretty cool atmosphere, actually, in Metallica. Like, people were going off up the top. They had the speakers set up for it. You could still see the screens.
The screens are really big and clear, right?
Yeah, it was.
That's come a long way since my early day of concerts where you're lucky to even get a screen. And now you'd see James Hetfield blowing up to 50 metres tall or whatever it is, and you can see everything happening. So, so it doesn't matter if you're at the back or if you're at the front these days, really.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's... Anything else in regards to any other learnings from that would be applied? Anything that would get applied to business, or like you thought from the marketing world and those sort of things?
So I did a master's degree in management studies, which was majoring in marketing. So I was looking at it from a marketing angle of, trying to understand the consumer, which was me. So trying to understand myself, but me being a consumer, like millions of other people around the world who love concerts, was trying to understand that. So then marketers or event planners could then take this knowledge and then apply it. So as I say, a big thing, and marketing goes into everything. A lot of people just think, marketing is just advertising, like a TV ad is marketing. But marketing, this table has marketing put into it because some designers sat down and thought, what kind of barlina sort of / table thing would people want to buy?
Yeah.
I think that sort of goes back to one of Marketing 101 classes where they're like, look at that chair. that chair is marketing. And you're like, what? It's like the colours, the design, all that stuff is basically marketing because you want to sell more chairs, right? So you've got to think, what kind of chair does someone want to buy? So basically understanding the consumer of concerts, you could then make, I don't know how many concert promotion companies have read my thesis, but so basically like experience. Some people said they went to certain venues, it was just hard to get inside, and then it was hard to get a drink, which is all sort of goes into event planning side of things where you're like, okay, and these days we're doing a lot better in New Zealand, like especially like the early big day outs I went to with his in Mount Smart. There was about, I don't know, the big toilets for guys and the big toilets for girls in the main stand, and then there was like just portaloos, and that was it. And there was some vendors out the back, and you get some hot dogs and chips, and that was about it. Like, we've come a long way. Like, if you go to a concert now at Spark Arena, and there's toilets everywhere, there's vendors everywhere selling a lot more variety of food, and all of that has made the experience just that much more convenient, and convenient goes a long way with having a good experience. You want to have convenient entry and convenient getting the food, otherwise you could miss some of the really good stuff.
Yeah, you can either miss it or... Yeah, I always thought that actually at the... probably the Ed Sheeran concert more, it's just the amount of security. And initially I was like, security. But they were just so organised. Like, everything was so organised. People were so helpful and streamlined. Toilets everywhere, water stations. We were just up in the stands on this one watching. There's people going around with backpack water, handing out cups of water to people in the sunlight. And you're like, oh, okay. It's actually because you do the maths and you're like, what's 40,000 people at an average of $200 a ticket? Is it like 8 million or something? That's a lot of money. It's just one dude. They can't. And then you're like, okay, there's a huge amount of that money is then just poured back into an excellent experience, And I actually realized then it's like, oh, yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's Frida and I was going, you could actually bring the kids if you're that way inclined. Like, it was safe on a level of, like, you just could, nothing went wrong. I think people misunderstand sometimes concerts, or they think about something from maybe the 80s or something, of like what's going on there. But it's, I think people said that at Metallica. They're like, oh, yeah, Metallica's coming. I'm like, Metallica fans, there's not going to be any trouble. It's not going to be. And everyone's going for the same. And I use the sports thing as it's like everyone's going to support the same team, and that team is guaranteed to win. I don't know whether they're going to smash it out of the park, but no matter what, they win. Like, they're going to turn up and play some songs. That's what I'm down for.
It's 100-0 or 50-10. Freaking won this game.
They still won this game. So yeah, you're not going with half of us and one fan, the other half of the other fans, and people are, getting angry at each other. So
probably got a little bit more of that at the Big Day Out back in the day. Because it was such a melting pot of different styles of music, and you'd get the hardcore bogan dudes who were just there to see System of a Down or Slipknot or something, and then some bloody Lily Allen. I think Lily Allen played one year. It's the reason that randomly popped to mind. I don't know if you know who Lily Allen is. Sort of British like pop singer, sort of maybe 15, 20 years ago, and yeah, she was playing before somebody else on the main stage. And there's been Bjork. Bjork played before Rage Against the Machine one year.
Yeah.
And when like she had, everyone was rocking Bjork, and everyone, literally the whole rugby field pretty much sat down. Yeah. Everyone just sat down and waited for Bjork to finish. But some people were too drunk and get a bit angry and start shouting and stuff. So there's that sort of little side of thing maybe at a festival, but yeah, when everyone's there for the same band. So I think that heavy metal goes back to that in the 80s. Oh, it's so dangerous. People who are into that music are bloody hooligans and this and that, and the concert is going to be all these crazy people. Like, yeah, that's bogans and music fans in general, but metal fans, I think, are the really chill people.
Yeah.
Like, generally they're introverts, they're not someone who's going to create a scene and like try and be the big man and stuff like that. They're just going to chill and have a conversation. They might sort of spark something up, but have a few beers, but that's probably as worse as it's going to get.
No, you'd be right with that. As it was, watching all the fans go in, and it's yeah, the caricature is not quite what the actual fans turn out to be. Oh, that's cool. All right, just give us a rundown of, I don't know, a bit of a backstory, really, and then we can sort of get into how did you start the LinkedIn Locals, because it's been phenomenally successful. The amount of people that you've had, and you've still been able to run this event and keep it going all these years. Is so many people start and do it, and it might last 1 to 3 events. But how, where'd that begin? But how, bit of a backstory of Daniel Hopper.
Oh, backstory of Daniel Hopper. Born in Australia to Kiwi parents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in Katoomba. Which no one really knows where that is, but it's in the Blue Mountains. And you say that to people and they might have heard of it. It's where the bushfires are, but people don't really know where that is. So that easy, so you don't know where that is. So Bathurst, people always like, oh yeah, Bathurst, I know Bathurst.
Yeah, I'm like, Blue Mountains.
Don't actually know where Bathurst is. But so Bathurst is maybe an hour and a half from Katoomba. Okay. Someone in Australia, if I don't know how many Australians listen to this, I mean, oh no, it's more like 2 hours. But basically, anyway, they're both in the Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
Just west of Sydney. So I had to just do my little... Yeah, west of Sydney. So, so my
territory.
Bathurst, which I could talk about for ages, but we won't go there yet. And then they come over here when I was sort of 3 or 4, lived in a lot of small towns.
So they were Kiwis that went over to Aussie, gave it a crack, and then decided to come home?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really asked why. I don't think back in the mid-1980s there was the whole grass is greener on the other side mentality that we have now, because New Zealand had quite a strong economy back then with the farming and stuff. So I don't really know. They just went to Australia for a while, came back. Lived in a few small towns. My dad was actually a pastor. I'm a pastor's son, believe it or not, which was quite ironic with the whole heavy metal thing. Because we're such devil worshippers.
I'm sure that Metallica is either, they might not have been pastor, but
religious,
super strong Christian religious.
Quite a few sort of musicians come out of quite religious homes, because I think they learn an instrument because music's quite a big thing in the churches and stuff, and then they get a bit disillusioned with the whole religion thing and end up being rock stars. But so I lived in Tikawiti, if you know where that is, an hour south of Hamilton-ish, and then moved to Kaitaia, right up the top of North Island near 90 Mile Beach, lived there. And then moved to Cambridge briefly when my parents broke up, and then moved back to Kaitaia, and then moved to Hamilton, and then moved to Wanganui. So I went to, I think, two primary schools, 2 intermediates, and 3 high schools.
Damn.
So I sort of learned to adapt. Adaptability. And that's a big thing for kids, I think, is being adaptable to... So a lot of people, I don't know if it's just these days, but... I guess people in general, some people are really set in their ways and they get really stressed out if anything changes, and it's the end of the world. But for me, I've just always been like, okay, that's happened now, and we'll just move on to this next thing. So,
What was it like as a teen though? How did you adapt to that? Because I'd say being a teenager is probably the worst. 3 high schools, like that's pretty one every year and a half or something.
Yeah, it was. So. In Kaitaia, when I moved, I went to Kaitaia primary for 1 year, 2 years of intermediate, or like 1.5 years, and then moved to Cambridge briefly, and then back to Kaitaia. So I was back to the people I kind of knew, because there's only like one school really of each in Kaitaia, being a small town. So it was still the same people, so that was fine. Moving to Hamilton, I don't know. I guess Hamilton was bigger with more stuff, so it was exciting. I was like, okay. And I was always, I guess, sort of the smarter kid in my class. And I'm also the sort of person who, if I don't have a challenge to focus me, I can be a bit of a larrikin, I guess, and sky off a bit. So I went from like a smaller school to like Fraser High School in Hamilton, which is a huge school with heaps of classrooms, and I wasn't that smartest kid anymore. I was just like one of the kids in one of the smart classes. So it's just sort of back to being average. But it was cool because there's a lot more opportunities with sports, and I've always been big into sports. There was heaps of kids to play on the field with. I really enjoyed Hamilton. So when my mum moved to Wanganui, then I was kind of, do we have to? Like, I'm quite happy actually with how things are going. And then again moved to a smaller high school in Wanganui where there wasn't a lot going on and not a lot to focus me or challenge me. So I actually dropped out of high school with about 3 months left in my last year. All my friends from rugby and stuff had left and had jobs and had money to get on the booze and stuff. And I was like, man, I want to just leave school. So I did. And then I worked in a leather factory actually for a year.
Oh, yeah.
I did a certificate in leather manufacture technology. Did like a cadetship where you sort of go through the factory and you learn the different, so basically you get from the foulmongery, which is the meatworks, the hide comes in, the skin, when it still has all the fur and hair on it, because, cows, or with mostly cows, go on these big drums with like acid, and it like get drummed round and round for a few hours, and it comes out this big thick stuff, which is like the first level of leather, and it'll go through another machine with some different chemicals, and then basically it turns into your leather on your couch or your shoe leather. And so I just went through all these different processes in the factory, and some of it was really manual, just pulling something out of a machine and hanging it up for it to dry, and then it would go to the next guy or put it through a machine where it would just get like flattened slightly. Fun times.
Yeah.
So I did that for a year in Wanganui and then moved to Hamilton. This is a funny story actually. So I'd moved in with my girlfriend in Wanganui, moved out of my mum's, 17, 18 years old, moved into with my girlfriend. We got a little place closer to work. It was actually the day after, pretty sure it was the Metallica. No, I think it was the year before. No, it would have been the year of Metallica. I'd already decided to move to Hamilton.
Yeah.
And she was going to come up with me. The day after Metallica, just hazy as, big day, just real hazy. Mrs. calls me up and blah, blah, blah. Daniel, I'm pregnant. I'm just like, yep, okay, cool. Hadn't really sunk in, and then later in that day, she calls me back crying. It's like, oh, you don't care that I'm pregnant? I'm like, oh, shit, I did hear that right. 18 years old, just had the best day of my life.
Yeah.
So then later that year, my son was born. He's just turned 21, end of last year. A lot of people look at me like, what? You have a 21-year-old? And they're like, look at me. You can see them trying to work out the maths in their head.
Yeah.
And they're like, how old are you?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was a young dad. After that, I moved to Hamilton, got a job in an engineering sort of workshop. We made extrusion dies. I don't know if have you heard of Annex in Hamilton? Annex, they have a big factory out in Te Rapa, and Ulrich was another one of our customers who do the ladders and stuff.
Yeah.
So basically what we did was create like a big steel mould. It was called a die, a big round bit of steel, and then in the middle of it would be some fancy little shape. So like aluminium window frames.
Yeah.
Would be the shape in the middle of it, or a bit of a ladder would be the shape in the middle of it. So basically we created the die for it, and then places like Annex, like 100-metre long big building, and they have this conveyor and this machine thing which heats up steel and aluminium to a point where the aluminium's molten, and then it gets pushed through the steel mould, and it comes out the end on this big long conveyor of this shape.
Oh, yeah,
and then it's just chopped up into whatever the hell it is. So that was a little random job. So then, anyway, two or 3 years of that. And then me and my son's mum broke up, and I actually became a solo dad. And that's when I went and studied. We broke up at 2006. And that's when I went to Wintec and did my business degree. Moved on to the uni and did my master's degree. that's when I did the thesis, which we just spoke about, and
What was it like being a solo dad?
it was good. You know, had a really cool relationship with my son. I was young,
Yeah.
so loved coaching his sports teams and stuff like that.
Nice.
He sort of did a bit of everything: cricket, rugby, basketball. It's probably his favourite thing. He was never a great rugby player. He just wasn't. He was that sort of one kid who was a bit timid and would stand off to the side and like wouldn't get into it. I'd be like, yeah, get in. You know, as you know, any parent of a boy in New Zealand or girl who's been to a rugby game can all probably tell stories about crazy parents on the sideline just screaming and yelling at all these kids. In New Zealand, that's normal. Like,
100%. Yeah.
if someone from, say, I don't know, America came to New Zealand or somewhere where rugby's not really a thing, and they came to like a kids' rugby match, they would probably like, what the hell's going on? Why is everyone yelling at these kids?
I bet though, if you went to the American football matches or something, there would be the same. There'd be the same level of parents there, being like, "Come on, Johnny, get in there, harder, get in there." But Johnny's 5.
Give it some heart.
Yeah, that's it. Smash him, Johnny.
Yeah, so I studied. Mentioned before, I worked in the research office at Wintec for a while. I did that part-time while I was studying. I had a little ice cream shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the base.
Ice cream shop.
A little ice cream shop. Yeah, it was like this little franchise which had just launched. And yeah, I did that for...
How'd that come about?
I think it might have been through, because I was on the benefit with my son. I think because I was on like some job seekers list or something, the opportunity came up, and I don't know. So it was partly funded. So I think they had some agreement with whatever the government body for WINS is called these days.
Yeah.
To sort of, I think government pays them some money to help them get people into business was kind of the thing. And then so some of the costs to start your business are covered.
Right.
And they provided you with this, it was like I think they called it a pod, basically a big steel box, you know, just like you see at the Gourmet in the Gardens, all those little trailer type things. But this was a site set up at the base, sort of outside the warehouse. It only lasted like 6 months. Summer was awesome, but basically, January was pretty bad because everyone's sick of going to the shopping mall.
Yeah.
You know, and you just don't want to be at the base when you've been there in December because it's just chaos.
Yeah.
And so then it just went from like busy as to bugger all people being at the base. And then February picked up a little bit, but then obviously as you got into winter. And so I think it lasted to about May. November to May was my little ice cream store venture.
Yeah, makes sense. It would be... No one just wants an ice cream if it's cold and wet.
No, and just being like outside the warehouse in this little steel box, it just wasn't in bad weather. Yeah, it was just pretty hard to.
Yeah.
You know, it seemed like a good idea at the time. In hindsight, you know, a better location it may have ended up better because it was like a premium ice cream too. And this was before Duck Island and stuff. So to pay like $7 for an ice cream back then, people were like, "What? We can just go to Macca's and get a 50-cent ice cream kind of thing." So to pay like $7 for a premium ice cream was a hard sell as well. And it was before that was more of a common, like now it's not so bad because there's Duck Islands.
Yeah, it's been established that that's acceptable
and
level.
that big brand, what's that one that's in the city? Movenpick's more common in New Zealand. So you're kind of more used to that sort of pricing now these days. So what did I do after? Oh, and that's when I went to real estate after that. Yeah. So it was just saw an ad in the paper. Real estate agents wanted whatever it was. I'm like, I could do that.
Yeah.
Which literally was, and I think that goes back to my adaptability of growing up. Where it's like, shit happens. Just like just that Kiwi can do kind of attitude, I guess. So yeah, I ended up working for Harcourts for about 4.5, 5 years, which is, I guess that's a good transition into LinkedIn Local.
Yeah. Yeah.
So probably my second year of real estate, you know, it was a hard gig because, you know, you're on commission only, no salary, and you're not given any leads. You know, you've got to find your own business.
Because I've been I've had moments where I thought, oh, maybe I should sell real estate, or you're looking at different jobs and that. And it's often there. What sort of support or what do they do? Because they're always like, we need more agents. And the older I've got, the more suspicious I'm
Yeah,
like,
because bums on seats basically is more potential for income.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, well, they don't really give you a lot of support, to be honest. A lot of people who go into real estate are older. Well, you sort of get the young people who probably live at home, or the partner works, don't have a lot of overheads, so they can kind of live off bugger all and build some momentum. And then you get people who have a bit of money because they've been successful or had a well-paying job for X amount of years. So, money's not a big thing if they have to live on their savings for a while.
Yeah.
So it's just, and you think the whole snowballing concept, something starts off small, rolls down the hill, gains momentum, gets bigger. And that's basically how real estate works is, you'd sort of, you do get a little bit of support. Some people get given like 6 months of a little bit of a retainer, and then you're sort of out on your own just to get you that sort of little bit of income at the start. But yeah, basically you just got to get out there and knock on doors. A big thing is doing open homes for other agents.
Okay.
So the established agents in your office, got any listings? I can do some open homes, kind of thing. And a lot of agents, one of the bigger agents who are like the Sean Cosgroves of the world, who might have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 listings. Obviously, they can't be at all of these properties to do open homes. A lot of them are quite happy to have people come to open homes for them because it's more exposure to sell that property for them, obviously.
And then would they cut you in on the commission on the deal if you found a buyer? If a buyer turned up to your open home, you'd get a bit of it.
So basically something a lot of people don't understand of real estate is the commission is split in half, or it's split in quarters, really. So there's the sell and there's the buy.
Yeah.
And then half of that goes to the company. And so a lot of people don't understand with the commission in real estate is it's split in half or split in quarters. So there's the buyer side and there's the seller side. People just think, you get a listing and you sell it and you get all the monies. This big 30 grand commission or whatever it is. Real estate must make so much money. And some of them really do.
Yeah.
The established ones who are selling 10 properties a week or whatever it is. But yeah, the commission goes from that to being more like that. So there's the buy and the sell. So if you don't have any listings, you can still make money off buyers.
Okay.
So you might be doing your open home, someone comes through and they're, we like this place, and you put a contract for them which ends up being accepted by the seller.
Yeah.
You get that quarter of the commission.
Okay.
And then also the idea was to try and hold on to those buyers, which is hard because often buyers are going to multiple open homes and they're meeting all of these agents. But sometimes you meet a buyer, so you call them up, say on the Monday you've done the open home, on the Sunday they've come through, you've got a little list of people who come through, and then you do either on the Sunday night or Monday morning, you do your callbacks. Yeah. Call them up, what did you think of that open home? Wasn't quite what we're looking for. Do you want me to let you know when similar properties come up? That'll be helpful. Yeah. What sort of house are you looking for? So then out of all the 1,000 houses on the market, whatever it is, you look through the listings and you try and find suitable options for this people. Or when a new one comes on the market, often real estate agents, if it's listed by agents in your company, a little bit earlier than when it actually hits the market. So then that's your little selling point to people as well. I can let you know of the new listings before it comes to the open market, so you can get a bit of a head start. Cool. That sounds good. So you call them back when something comes up. You don't want to go check out this house today. So then sometimes, you build that little bit of rapport and that they're happy for you just to look after them, and they won't go to open homes with other agents and stuff. They'll just go to look at houses with you. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the ideal buyer because most of the time they'd end up buying something. Yeah, okay. And then you'd get that commission. So you might show them 5 houses or you might show them 100 houses. And I've had some buyers who I worked with for literally 1 or 2 or 3, probably 3 years even, and they never brought a single thing. And the amount of properties that you showed them, and you think, man, the amount of time I put into this person.
So they just enjoyed your company and you taking them around to look at houses.
Yeah, or sometimes it's just they just something changes in their life and they don't end up buying something, or they just got, I had some whereby they had to move to a new job or a new city and they just got nervous, and then you turned up to an open home without you and they brought a house and you're like, oh, great. I actually had one towards the end. It might have been like the second or last house I sold, or listed and sold. I'd showed this lady, she had a disabled husband, well, not disabled, but he was in a wheelchair, so needed to find something with bigger hallways and stuff which would fit a wheelchair in and blah, blah, blah. And we looked at heaps of properties. And I think they ended up buying something privately. But then, she called me up one day. I was like, hey, Daniel, I know you didn't buy anything for you, but we really appreciated all the effort you put into us. So they ended up giving me their house to list.
Oh, nice.
So then I ended up getting the list and the sell on that. So it ended up all right in the end.
And so LinkedIn Local, how did that?
Yeah, so basically I was talking to one of the guys in the office, and so, he's doing all right. He was quite a new agent as well, but he's a bit older. And he's like, oh, mate, I just catch up with a few old mates once or twice a week, guys I've worked with or guys he played rugby with or whatever it was over the years, and sit down with them and have a bit of a conversation. I was like, oh, yeah. Well, that doesn't sound too intimidating. Cool. So then, I was just starting to do the whole LinkedIn thing.
Yeah.
I just started sharing content about, no one was really doing this because this is like 2016, 2017. Facebook was super saturated with real estate agents doing ads and stuff, and I thought, there's no point in me trying to
That's fine.
advertise myself on Facebook, because you just have to put all this money into ads for people to see it. And I just started posting on LinkedIn, and my angle was, what would people like in a real estate agent, and one of those things was someone who knows what's happening in Hamilton, and, where the stuff's, the good areas to buy, or where there's new developments happening, and just stuff, infrastructure things. So that's what I did. I just literally a couple of times a week, I'd just Google the Waikato Times, stuff, whatever, Herald, look for little articles on stuff happening in Hamilton, the Waikato, and just sort of post it on LinkedIn, and then sort of become that sort of LinkedIn guy. And sort of that's where the events came from. So I started reaching out to people, hey, you want to catch up for a coffee? I was quite surprised people were quite receptive to it. People I'd never met, but people like yourself who might have liked some posts or whatever. And I think I reached out to Chris Simpson once, and he was probably the only other person doing LinkedIn in Hamilton.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. So me and Chris Simpson caught up for a coffee, and a couple of other people who were sort of on LinkedIn at the time. And then I just thought, I think I'd met Ryan the Lion at this point. You'd probably know Ryan, probably met him at a LinkedIn Local. He does a few Quiet Yarns events. I think I'd been to a couple of his networking events, and just thought one day, it'd be cool to do like a LinkedIn event and get people from LinkedIn to come to this networking event. And that was literally kind of just the idea. And because I had my website where I'd put listings on, and I'd put little articles about Hamilton and stuff on. So I just put a little form on my website where you put your name and your email and stuff in, and put a post on LinkedIn one day. I was like, hey, who's keen for a LinkedIn networking event? If you're keen, go to this link, put in your details. And like literally within a couple of days, I had like 150 people emails and stuff in my database. I thought, I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
And then ended up doing my first event in the Harcourt's auction rooms, because I just asked the boss, I was like, hey, I'm doing this networking event.
Yeah.
Can I use the auction rooms? And they're like, oh, yeah, okay. I mean, there was booths and stuff, but they seemed all right with the idea. I think they just sort of, a couple of managers were there on the night to sort of help out and keep an eye on things. But yeah, it ended up going really well. Sort of got 80, 90 people at my first event. And then it just, I think the second one was at Rico. So Rico used to have like a showroom along Anglesey Street with their printers and and stuff. Probably were at that event.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I was initially couldn't think of who Rico was, and then when you said the photocopiers, I was like,
yeah. So they had their little showroom. After the first event, they reached out and was like, hey, would be keen to host and sponsor one of these events. So the second one just fell into place, and then yeah, I guess that's sort of the gist of it. It just sort of, and that was, I think 2018, my
How
first
do you
year.
think it just relates to people looking for, if you go back to the music, people looking for community, looking for authenticity, and then people will often give you their time. They'll have a coffee, they'll catch up. Like if people reach out, they'll probably be surprised who just says yes to doing it. But do you see any the similarity? Because that LinkedIn Local certainly has a community to it.
Yeah, well, I guess that's something I really tried to establish. I think because of what I learned in my thesis about creating an environment where people can interact and create their experience that they want to have, I really tried to create an event. So right from the start, I was probably a bit brash with it, but there was no, don't bring a business card. Don't come along to just hand out 50 business cards. That's not what these events are about. It's not a selling event. Put that in my posts, and I think one or two of my first couple of events, I called people out on the event, just as a joke. Hey, remember it's a non-selling event, so you put your business cards away, so something like that. And it was just creating, and so that's where the food came from. And if plenty of food, enough drinks to take the edge off, that everyone can have it, and you don't have to pay for it. Because I'm not a big networker. For me, my first couple of networking events, I was like that awkward guy standing in the corner, no one to talk to, sort of and I didn't want to create that environment where there was little cliques, and I wanted to create something where everyone could go in and sort of feel comfortable. And so for me, it was man, I've had a hard day's work. I might not have eaten since lunchtime. I don't want to have to stop on the way and get something to eat. So there needs to be food, and there needs to be enough food that you can, if you had a long day, you can go grab a bite, relax, grab a beer and relax, and just, I guess that's kind of what I wanted. I sort of thought, what networking event would I want to go to? Yeah. And that's kind of what I tried to create.
That's cool.
And, I like to learn about, I've always been someone who likes to learn about stuff. I spent a bunch of time on YouTube watching random videos about bridges and stadiums and stuff, which, I don't know. So for me, I tried to create something where there was an interesting theme and interesting speakers, not a speaker who's going to go and tell you, we're really amazing at this, we're making $50 million a year, we're great. I wanted to get speakers who could talk to a topic which was, interesting, like a conversation and more of a learnings than listening to, looking at PowerPoints of stats of how much money you've made and stuff like that. So I tried to create interesting themes that I thought, man, I'd like to listen to someone who's well respected in their area, that they don't need to sell themselves, that someone that we know, that they're relevant at whatever this theme is. And that's kind of the other side of it, I guess, with the speakers.
For people that might want to know, what would be your tips for being a pleasant and maybe getting a successful outcome from networking? What do you see of people that doing networking well and then doing networking maybe badly?
Yeah. Badly is, the whole just going up to as many people as you can talk to and give them a business card, talk them to 5 seconds, and then when you're at a networking event, you get caught in the conversation, 20 minutes, half an hour might go by and you're still talking to the same person. And why would you want to break that rapport where you're building with this one person who it could end up referring 10 customers to you in the next X amount of years? So I think people who are really good at networking, yes, they can spread their time and energy amongst, say, 10, 20 people over an event. But it's through engaging in an authentic conversation and learning stuff about someone, and then someone's going to come over and enter your conversation. So then there might be 10 of you just chucking yarns at each other. And someone who's a really good networker is Dave Hallett, actually. Dave Hallett, Company X. I was always quite blown away how he could just chat with just random, like one example, we were sitting down, because I was running these little night, it wasn't a LinkedIn local, but sort of once a month, I'll do some posts, hey, whoever's keen to meet up down at the pub, come meet at 5:30, have a couple of beers and a yarn, and I'd sort of get 5 to 10 people, and yeah, Dave Hallett was at one, and literally, so the one at Good something rather, at the Sky City one?
Yeah, Good Home.
Good, whatever it is.
Yeah, Good Burger, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's got the burger place next to it. But anyway, we're sitting outside having a drink, and some random guy walks down the street, and Dave Hallett jumps up, and he met them through something rather random thing, and just goes up to them and starts yarning to them in the street. And he's like that at the events too, and he's like just a good talker. But I think asking questions about someone, not just telling them about, oh, I do this, we do this, we're great, blah, blah, blah. So, oh, hey, Jason, tell me what you do. Oh, how's that? Got any kids at home? And, asking a lot of questions sort of builds trust with people that they want to talk to you. And in the next event, they sort of feel like a mate because you know a little something about them. You can ask, how's your kids going at school? Joined the new rugby team this year, or whatever little piece of information you can retain from the previous time you spoke.
Yeah.
It's probably a good tip. It's just trying to be authentic with your conversations and get to know people, and then sort of you become, I think, a magnet for more conversation because sitting here having a good yarn, having a laugh. Those people who feel awkward and no one to talk to, they might come over because they can feel like a good open energy that you're just having a good yarn. It's more sort of inviting, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. What would be the highlights of? What are the ones that you've done over the years that would be the highlight ones?
It was a pretty cool one to do one at the rugby.
Yeah.
Did you go to one FMG Stadium? No, that was good. So we did it before a Waikato game. I think we lost to Canterbury or something.
Yeah.
But the networking was good. So we're just up in the stands in the corporate area. That was really cool. Had Dwayne Monkley come along and speak. Waikato legend. He's like one of my favourite players growing up. Best player to never be an All Black. I'll put that out there.
Yeah.
Legend. So it was really cool to meet him.
Why do you reckon best player never to be an All Black?
Oh, because he was awesome. Did you ever watch him play for Waikato back in the day? He was just sort of an undersized flanker. And at the time we had Michael Jones and Josh Kronfeld, and he just wasn't. And this was before the days where you had a whole bench of subs. Like you couldn't sub back then. You got injured and you came off, and they didn't rotate their players as much as you do these days. Like you get a whole bunch of guys play a couple of games for the All Blacks and then bugger off overseas, and you forget they were even an All Black. But back then it was kind of, you had that All Blacks top team, and it was really hard to break into the fray. But Waikato it was a great era of Waikato rugby, beating Auckland Eden Park, I think 1992, to bring the Ranfurly Shield back to Hamilton. So that was pretty cool. The one at the rugby, the one at the Gardens was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was good.
That was my one and only outdoor event I've done, and the weather was awesome.
Yeah,
it was a pretty cool environment to be in. I think it was the Egyptian Garden or something. Yeah, that was pretty cool. The Wintick one at the Atrium, which I think was my third event, was the big one where I kind of thought, wow, what is this? So I went from, I think, 90 people to about 140 people, and then we're at the Wintick's Atrium, so I was like, sky's the limit in terms of how many tickets you can do. Had a really cool panel. Had about 300 people or something there, and I just sort of remember being like, well, how do I get all these people to come to my event? Because I'm just like, man, I just want to put on this, it wasn't much earlier than that. It was just an idea, hey, let's do this event. Don't know how it's going to go. But, so that was pretty cool to get that many people. There's probably three that, obviously one in Waikato Sheds we did, that was pretty good.
That was pretty loose. That was a big clean-up.
I think you guys were here for a while after everyone left, though.
There was some sore heads after that. How have you changed it, or how have you seen the sort of business world change? Because you've probably seen the pretty interesting pre-COVID and then the COVID times, and it's still going now. I mean, if it's 7 years, 8 years,
Yeah.
if we're 2026, it must be getting almost 8, 9
Yeah,
years.
I think this is year 8
Yeah.
or maybe year 9. Yeah, I don't think a lot has changed. I think actually during COVID, the appetite for networking increased because people had been on lockdown.
Yeah.
And I actually had a pretty good run with events. I think it was that 2020, after initially being in lockdown. I think that's the only year I actually did 5 events. Because we sort of go into lockdown, but then we'll be out of lockdown. And I managed to pull it off somehow with just random planning that all these events all happened without a lockdown coming along and having to cancel anything. So I did another cool one. Yeah, I did a cool one at Claudelands, quite a big one that year at Claudelands. Would have been, 250, 300 people as well. Yeah, and I think just the appetite for that connection.
Yeah.
And you're having a face-to-face yarn with people because people hadn't had that through their workplaces and all sports teams and stuff so much that year. So, yeah, they just, was an easy sell. We'll do an event. People turn up. Sort of thing.
Other than Dwayne Monkley, any other top speakers that you'd have had over the years? Because that's what I was also, I suppose, is people, is unlike like a Chamber of Commerce event, the people that are hosting it generally aren't speaking at it. It's not a promoting the business. It's different people. So it's much more of, I don't know, maybe almost like a TED Talk type style. You're getting people talking for 10, 15 minutes, hitting the high points of what they do in that
story. Yeah. I did one at Gallagher, which was pretty cool. So usually it's been sort of more business focused events, but that one was like a community theme, I think I call it. So I had a fireman, had a policeman, and had a rescue helicopter pilot as my speakers. So it was quite different. Andrea Macbeth, I think, was her name, the police officer. And she was really engaging and actually really funny. And she was like, I can't remember her role, but quite high up in the police force. Yeah, she was really cool. She was really, really genuine person. You could just feel that she just felt a sort of sense of, what's the word for it? She just felt like she needed to do something, take that little, take that, oh my God, I lost for words now. Just do something a bit extra for her community, that.
duty of service.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so, man, there's been so many of them. To be honest, I don't know if I could sort of point anyone else really out because, there's so many of them and most of my speakers have all been really cool.
Yeah.
But I guess it's the ones who are a bit different that you stand out, like that event. And the fireman was, I think Matt might have been his name. And they were just sort of coming off a strike, or they're having one of these strikes coming up, because they just weren't getting the fund. They don't get the funding, the fire brigade. They're using trucks that are like 20, 30 years old and aren't really fit for purpose, and they just don't really have the funding to do their jobs properly. And when they're such an integral part of our community, it was quite,
Yeah. Why we can never support properly like the fire service, the ambulance, it just never really makes sense. You guys, I'll just ask it before we try to wrap it up and do it. Bathurst. You said you're going to circle back around to a Bathurst. Yeah. What was that? I don't want to leave Bathurst unspoken.
Bathurst, yeah. I've always been a bit of a car guy. Not so much probably the last 10 years or so, but growing up it was, you were Ford or you were Holden.
Yeah.
And Bathurst was the day of the year. You get together around at your mates' houses.
Yeah.
Drink some beers, just talk shit to each other. Holden sucks. Oh, F you.
Yeah.
Fucking Ford fans. Oh, yeah, all beep, kind of stuff. And that was just good. I just remember that being really, really, and even before that, when I was a kid, like back in the day when TV1 had sport on the weekend pretty much all day, and you could just sit there and watch boxing and racing and all sorts of stuff. I'd just sit there all day and watch Bathurst, just fascinated. I had model cars growing up. I've never been to a Bathurst, but one day, I'll go and do the big Bathurst weekend and go Mount Panorama and so I just have always been a bit of a car person, I guess. I just love motor racing. I always thought I'd love to own my own race car team. Get rich, start a race car team, and that's my life.
Yeah, get rich. Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet, but maybe one day.
Yeah. What do you think it is with race cars, or racing? Do you think it's just because it just seems to speak to people like in their souls? Some people, like you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the smell of petrol fumes and rubber, and I think the speed and adrenaline of, even if you're not racing, you can kind of feel the intensity of when there's these two super expensive cars, like nose and nose millimeters from each other at 250 k's, where one of them makes a mistake and they're in the wall. There's just that sense that you can kind of feel it in your soul in those little moments, and obviously it's not all race, it could just be a couple of moments, but you just kind of kind of thing.
Yeah. So Ford, Holden, favourite?
I've always been a Ford, yeah. I think it was originally because of Mustangs. I just always thought Mustangs were pretty cool.
Yeah.
And also sort of in the 90s, when I was sort of in high school and late 90s, early 2000s, Holden were just super dominant, and it seemed most people were Holden fans. And I've never been the sort of person to go along with the crowd.
Yeah.
So I was like, stuff you. I don't care if we lose every year. I'm going to be a Ford fan. And I had a couple of mates who were Ford fans, and so us 3 Ford fans were just as loud as the other 20 Holden fans.
Nice.
So it was all good.
Yeah. Awesome. And then let's just bring it up to today. What's happening? KP floor, is it?
KP Group, yeah. So
KP Group, and what's happening in the next LinkedIn Locals? Give us a plug on the KP and. Okay,
so I joined KP Group end of last year, sort of October, I think. We do industrial cleaning. That doesn't sound very sexy, but so we sort of do industrial cleaning and line marking. So that big car park in Countdown or warehouse or whatever it is has all those car parks. Someone needs to paint all those lines, eh?
Yeah.
So I'm in a sales role, business development role. So basically the leads come through. I go out to site, have a look, scope it up, create a bit of a quote. So, we do. And we do a lot of, our sort of bread and butter work is probably sweeps and regular sweeps. So we have sweeping machines ranging from a small one, like a little lawnmower that you push down and mow your lawn, a sweeper, a little bit bigger than that, all the way out to road sweeper trucks.
Right, cool.
And then scrubbing. So the regular sweeps is sort of the bread and butter that you want someone to sign up to, say, once every 3 months you turn up, sweep their car park.
Yeah.
And then we do a lot of scrubs. Probably most commonly, warehouse might be vacant. The tenant's moved out to do whatever, and then they've left a bit of a dirty floor with grime and stuff from all over the years. Man, sometimes some of the places I've been in, even in 3 months, haven't cleaned the floor in 30, 40, 50 years, and it's just thick grime.
Grime, yeah.
So we turn up with our scrubbers, and then looks nice and shiny after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
And the LinkedIn Local, you've got another one coming up?
Yeah. December 25th at...
December?
So should I say December?
Yeah.
February 25th. February 25th at Abbott. So they've got a new showroom out at the base. Sort of over by Rebel Sport on the corner, just as you drive in, between Mitre 10 and Rebel Sport. A little showroom there. Yeah, so we're doing a theme about media.
Really? So, okay. I'm just trying to place that in my mind. Who did they take over?
I'm not actually sure. It might have been like Lightning Direct or something.
Okay.
One of those stores you never really notice unless
Yeah.
you're like looking for some lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're doing a theme on the media. Yeah, so as I sort of mentioned earlier, I always try and have an interesting theme.
Yeah.
And I always try and have a different theme each event.
Yeah. And so what brought up the media thing?
I don't know. Oh, well, I did have Business Connect, Philip Quay, you might have met him as a sponsor. And he used to work for the Waikato Times, and then he sort of, as a reporter, and then just branched out onto his own thing now. And obviously the media's changed a lot over the last sort of couple of decades, probably the last 10 years in particular with social media. I'm one of those people who doesn't really watch. I used to be every night, I was watching the news, I was sitting there, shut up, don't talk to me, I'm watching the news.
Yeah.
And now I just sort of browse through my feed, and that's how I get my news these days. So that's kind of the, and so what are the media doing? What have they had to do to sort of change the way they do things to be more relevant and stay in people's eyeball space with, doom scrolling off social media these days? It's probably pretty hard to get people to click on an article and read and, for them to make any income from it. So I've got the editor from Waikato Times, Philip Quay, who I just mentioned as well, as speakers, and LinkedIn famous Ash,
Yeah,
who you've just had on the podcast, and that was absolute coincidence. I saw that pop up, and I think this week the videos he did with Ash. I was like, that's funny. I'm in the seat now, and he was in the seat not that long ago, and he'll be speaking at my event.
Yeah, that's cool.
So Ash,
you need a new photo for Ash. Your photo of Ash is like 20 kgs heavier. It's impressive, dude. Early 40s, so
turn his life.
To turn the fitness around like he has is it's cool.
He's doing like ultra marathon.
I think it's maybe this weekend or something. He's going to do a 100k ultra marathon.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. I was like, bro, making me feel bad.
Yeah. So
59k training runs. I'm like, Ash,
too much time on his hands. So I actually met Ash. He would have maybe come to my first or second event.
Yeah.
So I've known Ash a long time now. And he's someone who's used LinkedIn really well to sort of promote his business and grow a personal brand. So that's kind of the there's the old school media. What are they doing to change? And then we're going to have Ash saying, this is how I've harnessed social media to highlight, and with the RAM raids and really used LinkedIn and stuff to get media to pick up on his stuff,
how the son of a liquor store owners in Huntley, who's able to turn himself into like a national advocate for retail crime and everything with the new media.
Yeah.
It's
without LinkedIn, that never would have happened.
Yeah, no, that'd be interesting. It'll be cool. Any other shout outs or anything else? We want to cover it off? Predictions for the Chiefs this year?
Oh yeah. Chiefs hard. Another final. This final we're going to take it out.
Ooh.
Beat the Crusaders in the final.
Yeah.
In a perfect world. I'm actually excited for another year of footy.
Yeah.
Those first couple of weeks of Super Rugby, when it's back on TV, it's just like a huge sigh of relief. I'm like, rugby's back.
Yeah.
I've always been a big, rugby guy. Just earlier talking about Dwayne Monkley in the early 90s, watching rugby on TV. That's like, man, I'm 40. So that's like 36 years of avid rugby support. So, feels like a big part of your life, which isn't there when rugby season stops. It's like, man, what do I do with myself?
Oh, no, I get it. I was league and rugby. I'm really looking forward to the NPC being on free to air this year. It's just...
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's just going to be so cool that everybody's going to be so many more people will watch it, which will enable so much more chat and just parochial, like, my team beat your team, you know. Like,
it'll be good to get a bit of that back, because I feel like something that's been lost in
big time.
New Zealand rugby over the last couple of decades. They're just not that sort of tribe mentality that, like the old Ford versus Holden kind of.
100%,
You know, New Zealand, there used to be a big Auckland and Waikato rivalry, Battle of the Bombays kind of thing. Like, it was a big game when Auckland and Waikato played. And
people would turn up. People really knew the players. I think that's what I'm hoping to see, or would be cool, is people are, oh man, I can see my local club players that make the Waikato team that might never make Super Rugby, like I better get in behind the boys, Yeah, it'll be cool. Go play Manimal too. Hopefully they've still got their crazy bucket hats. So, yeah. Anything else?
Anything else? I don't know. No, not really. I think, had a good chat.
Yeah. That's fine. Where was the father pastor? I was just curious for that.
Sorry?
Where was your father a pastor at? Like, what sort of churches?
So Presbyterian church, I think that's what you call it.
Old school.
Yeah, quite basic. Like these days it seems like all this Brian Tamaki stuff, and seems like churches sort of have gimmicks and stuff these days, but basically it was pretty basic. It wasn't a Catholic church, which was more the sort of Mother Mary stuff. It was just everyone, and something that I really remember is there's a real sense of community, because it was small towns, sort of Tikawiti in particular, when my dad was a pastor at this church. I just vividly remember still, like Easter and Christmas, where everyone brought a plate in, and you'd go into church, and there was just, man, so much food that I was always skinny guy with, I could eat 10 plates of food and not feel like I was hungry, like not feel like my hunger was satisfied. So I'll just be literally just going back, and there'd be lamb and chicken, just everything, and just times 10 kind of thing. And but everyone was just so happy and respectful to each other. And, it didn't feel like people were just going to church because they felt like they had to do that to make them feel better about themselves and their lives. It was more that people were generally there because they were good people. And,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Do you ever meet the great man? Because Tikawiti's Colin Meads territory.
Yeah.
Do you ever see the great man at all?
No. I think I might have seen him at the old King Country game, because I used to go to the rugby with my dad. Tikawiti used to host a lot of King Country games. And King Country were quite a competitive team back then. They were in the first division. Even though we lost pretty much every game, would won one or two games. Yeah. So then we weren't relegated. Like, it was kind of Taranaki and Southland and Bay of Plenty would kind of jump up in between the first and second division, and would beat them every year. So we stayed in the first division, but then everybody else would beat us. So we were like second to last on the table every year. But it was just awesome being able to go to the rugby and like see all these All Blacks who played for Otago and Auckland and stuff, and Tikawiti. That was awesome. But I don't think I ever met Sir Colin, unfortunately, but saw him from afar.
I believe I saw the legend from a distance as well. I went to somewhere at Eden Park or something, massive, even in his later years, so big. You'd see the stats and he was only like 6'1" or something, but I think that was like a 1960s 6'1" that would be like a 6'5" or something now.
Big guy. Everyone else.
Palmer rugby ball.
Finn with the other hand. Just amazing skills. And in today's era, and because obviously sports science has progressed over 50 years or whatever it is, 60, 70 years. Imagine if he was born today and had the training and the money that they put into rugby in schools is crazy these days. The development that they put into making players professional, like pretty much rugby is professional from high school in New Zealand these days. There's so much money and resource which goes into the first 15 of those schools and the competition they have, and
100%, the training programs, the nutrition programs, everything. Oh, awesome. Let's wrap it up there, because otherwise we've got another hour of rugby chat in front of us. I can see it. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for coming in. I look forward to the next LinkedIn. It's been great. Good little community that you've built there. It's really cool. And cheers for coming in and sharing the stories.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Awesome, brother.